Topping stories as we come on the air, the CDC and what they're now urging involving Thanksgiving, urging Americans not to travel. It comes as nearly 200,000 new cases and nearly 2,000 deaths reported in just the last 24 hours. And the CDC's alarming new prediction about the death toll by mid-December. Authorities in New York City and across the country taking new action. In California, issuing a new curfew tonight. Ohio's governor warning hospitalizations are reaching critical levels. Dr. Anthony Fauci at the White House podium for the first time in months, and what he said late today. And reporters asking, where is the president on this virus? And what we're now learning about a third vaccine tonight showing promise. Late today, President-elect Joe Biden warning American lives are at stake, with the president refusing to work with him on any transition, on any plan for vaccine distribution. And with Mr. Biden now approaching 80 million votes in the popular vote, he was asked about the president's continuing legal battles. Biden telling our Mary Bruce, let me choose my words here, and what he said next. The ABC News investigation tonight on the 100 hardest hit counties in the U.S. during this pandemic. The rural communities where nearly everyone knows of someone lost to this. 33 lives lost in just one community. The subway attack here in New York City, what we've learned tonight. And this evening, Prince William now breaking his silence amid the new investigation into that famous interview with Princess Diana 25 years ago. Was she tricked into doing it? And what Prince William is now saying tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin tonight with that new warning from the CDC, and it's blunt. They are now urging Americans not to travel this Thanksgiving, with the nation having lost more than 250,000 American lives to this. And given
a glimmer of hope in the race to a vaccine as America heads into the darkest days of the pandemic. And tonight, President-elect Joe Biden's warning if the transition doesn't begin soon. The distant light at the end of a long, long tunnel. Early data suggests Moderna's vaccine is nearly 95% effective. So when will it be available to you? 1 million new cases in just 1 week. To stop the spread, more governors announced new restrictions. No indoor dining, no in-person learning. And as hospitals are straining to keep up, some sick patients coming off life support insist COVID isn't real.
They deny it, their family members deny it.
And the first thing they're trying to communicate is that it's all a hoax.
Plus, as the crisis worsens, hunger grows. Thousands of cars line up for food. Costing lives. President-elect Biden calls on President Trump to start the official transition.
More people may die if we don't coordinate.
As Michelle Obama says this isn't a game and calls on the president to honor the electoral process. Breaking news, the president's plan to withdraw troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, why it's opposed by top military leaders. Powerful new hurricane. A Category 5 storm bears down on Central America. Scouts dishonor. Nearly 93,000 alleged victims file sex abuse claims against the Boy Scouts. The remarkable recovery. How a hiker found unconscious after getting lost in the snow survived, even though his heart stopped for 45 minutes. And everyone loves an underdog. How Maggie made it from the pound to the police force.
This is the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell, reporting from the nation's capital.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We're going to begin with breaking news on a potentially game-changing vaccine against coronavirus at the same time that infections of the virus here in the U.S. are now growing by the millions.
Tonight, the newest hope in the pandemic. An FDA advisory panel endorses emergency use of a second vaccine, one that can be stored more easily as the country endures more grim milestones, record-setting infections and deaths, and ICU capacity now at zero in a big part of Southern California. Plus, our broadcast exclusive on the virus hunters trying to track down where it actually came from. Congress reported close to a deal on new COVID economic relief, how much you might be getting and when, as unemployment claims continue to rise. The storm that made history, burying parts of the Northeast in record amounts of snow, more than 3 feet in some areas, killing at least 7 people, leaving tens of thousands without power and hundreds of accidents. The alarming new warning about that massive cyber attack tied to Russia now being called a grave risk to the government and beyond. Tough questions in Congress for the family behind the maker of OxyContin and what they had to say about the opioid painkiller tied to so many deaths. Millions of packages stranded or delivered late. Tonight, warnings of new delays. And what a teacher of the year tells me about educating our kids. Some valuable lessons for us all.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening. There are several breaking COVID-19 developments as we start here tonight. Just a short time ago, an independent panel of experts recommended the FDA approve a second vaccine. This is the one made by a company called Moderna, a decision that within days could start injecting 6 million more vaccine doses into distribution networks. And this evening, the need couldn't be more urgent as hospital ICUs across densely populated Southern California reach their dreaded breaking point, 0% availability. Our reporting starts with Tom Costello.
It's 10 p.m. Stay home. Stay safe. Stay strong. We're all in this together.
Right now on Fox 5 News at 10.
A lot of pain again today for many New Yorkers.
This is sadly our highest toll to date.
New York and New Jersey both marking their deadliest day of the coronavirus outbreak. New York alone reporting 731 deaths in 24 hours. But despite the staggering numbers, Governor Cuomo says he's still hopeful that the state may be turning a corner on the crisis. New York now has more than 138,000 confirmed cases, with about half here in New York City. But the rate of new hospitalizations does appear to be leveling off. It's been near flat over the last 3 days, pointing to a possible plateau. The state's teaming up with private labs to ramp up testing, and the governor is touting a new antibody test that he says could be the key to getting back to normal. Arthur Chan leads off our coverage with the latest developments. Arthur.
Well, Steve, from the hospitalization rate that you just mentioned to the pace of patients being put on ventilators, there are signs that that curve is flattening. But with nearly 5,500 New Yorkers killed so far and one dying in less than every 2 minutes right now, it's difficult to celebrate.
Behind every one of those numbers is an individual, is a family, is a mother, is a father, is a sister, is a brother. So a lot of pain.
Indicators are
Live from 42nd and 2nd, this is New York's very own Pix 11 News at 10.
More than 1,000 people in New York have now died from COVID-19. This comes as officials and healthcare workers prepare for the number of patients to peak. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kaidi Tong. It was another busy day as Americans come together to slow the spread of this pandemic. Help is on the way for those on the front lines. We begin our coverage with Pix 11's Christian Benavides live on the West Side with more. Hi there, Christian.
Hi there, Kaidi. New York is getting ready for what's called the apex of the coronavirus outbreak. That's when the largest number of COVID-19 patients are going to need treatment, which is why we're seeing a number of temporary hospitals being set up all throughout the city. Governor Cuomo.
Good evening. I'm Judy Woodruff on the NewsHour tonight. Hack attack. New details on the scope of a dangerous cyber intrusion on the U.S. government and major companies. Then, the Biden agenda. The president-elect names key climate officials for his administration, signaling a major departure from President Trump. Plus, trusting the vaccine. We examine the many historical reasons for reluctance surrounding immunizations in communities of color. And invisible scars, what we know now about treating and preventing childhood trauma.
If we could get rid of childhood trauma and maltreatment as a stressor, we'd actually be able to prevent most of the mental health conditions that we see.
All that and more on tonight's PBS NewsHour.
Major funding for the PBS NewsHour has been provided by Consumer Cellular, Johnson & Johnson,
Financial services firm Raymond James. BNSF Railway. The Candida Fund, committed to advancing restorative justice and meaningful work through investments in transformative leaders and ideas. More at candidafund.org. Carnegie Corporation of New York, supporting innovations in education, democratic engagement, and the advancement of international peace and security at carnegie.org. And with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
There is new and troubling information on a massive cyber attack against the U.S. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency has determined that the recent hacking of federal, state, and local governments, as well as critical infrastructure and other private sector organizations, poses, quote, a grave risk.